As I see it, when I click on one of these images, rather than linking to a different page, I instead want to display the image on the current page and then maybe give it a heading. Now, normally to do that, we would have to mix a bunch of JavaScript and HTML. But instead, why don't we simply create a little makeshift template? So we'll do it like so, script, and we'll give it an ID of template, and we're going to give it a type, and this can really be anything that's unique to your template. So we'll just call it template as well. Now within here, let's create our template. So I will add an h2 tag, and this will be where we add the title, and then we'll simply bring in the image, like so. Now the alternate text for the image will be the title as well, and the source for the image, let's call that img source. Good, so now that we have a template, let's get started. I'll open up script tags, and let's go ahead and create a wrapping function so that we don't have all these globals hanging around. And the first step is I'll create an object, and we'll call this viewer. And viewer will be responsible for containing all of the methods and properties that we need. So we'll begin by creating our init method, and this will be the method that kind of gets everything going. So I'll go ahead and call that. There we go. And if you want, we'll alert hello, just to make sure that is being called. Reload the page, and there it is. Good. So let's get started. Now the init method should first attach an event listener to the anchor tags that we have here. So we have a couple ways we can do that with jQuery. And because we're using jQuery, we should go ahead and bring that library in. There we go. Now the first option is we could attach an event listener to every anchor tag. And in this case of our demo, it's not a big deal because we only have 3, but it's a better practice rather than attaching potentially hundreds of event listeners, attach a single one and then figure out what the target was. And this is referred to as event delegation. So let's do that. I'm gonna get the wrapping unordered list and I'm gonna listen for onClick, and I'm gonna pass the optional selector. And that's essentially the same thing as jQuery's old delegate method. We are attaching an event listener to the UL, but what we're most interested in is whether or not the anchor was clicked. And if it is, we will run a callback function. And at this point, maybe we will call viewer.apply template, and that'll be something that we'll create right now. And I'm gonna pass through the anchor tag that was clicked, and that will be represented by this. So let's create that method now. Apply template. It's a function, and that's going to accept the data, or the anchor tag that was clicked. So the apply template method should take the anchor that was clicked, find the attributes, such as href and title, and attach them to this template. Let's go ahead and create a place where these images are going to be loaded. We've created a template, but we haven't specified where will those images and headings be placed once we insert it into the DOM. So I'll create a div with the class of result, and we'll just wrap it like so. This way, when we have the script template within it, it makes it easier to comprehend. Now, in order to work with this template, we need to have a reference to it, but we really don't yet. So I'll do it right here, template, and that will be equal to get template. Now, we don't want the node wrapped in the jQuery object, so I'm going to do HTML. And that way, template is equal to this content right here. There we go. And now I'm going to, within the applied template, I can reference template by doing this .template. So if we wanted to console.log that to see what it is, let's try it out. Open up Chrome Developer Tools, reload the page, and I will click on one. Now that's not going to work entirely because we still haven't disabled the default action of the anchor tag. So let's do that right now. e.prevent default. Take the default action of an anchor tag, which is to link somewhere, and disable it. Let's try that one more time. Click on the HTML. And now you can see this .template is equal to that snippet. Good, so now that we have access to that, we simply need to search through it and replace every occurrence of, for example, title with the title attribute of the anchor tag. That shouldn't be too hard. Let's try it out. We will say var template equals, and we'll say this .template .replace, and we're gonna use a regular expression here. And we'll simply say look for every occurrence of title. Now we can say do a global search by doing G, and this is referred to as a flag. Without it, it would only replace the first occurrence of title, but it would ignore that second one. But I want to say no, do a global search, so I'm going to add this G flag. Now, when you find that, we want to replace the title with the title attribute of the anchor tag. And we can access that. Remember, data is brought in from this, and this is equal to the anchor tag that was clicked. So we can simply do, rather than this.title, we do data. They're the same thing. Data refers to the this object. Now we're simply going to do it again because this is a very simple template. This time we're going to look for image source, and we'll replace that with data.href. And that's it. So now let's console.log template. And if I click on one, now you'll see we have our new updated template, and we didn't have to nest all of this nasty HTML into our JavaScript. It's a much cleaner way to go about it. So now the next step is jQuery get the result container div. And now we want to append template. Let's try that. Reload, I'm going to click it, and now the image is showing up. But now we have this problem. If I hit it again, we're going to add another one. And really, we should only show one at a time. That makes more sense. Because if I hit it, it's just going to keep loading. So in that case, why don't we do this? Result.children.remove. Then we're done working with the children, so I'm going to use the end method to return to what we were originally working with. And then I'm going to append the template. And end will allow us to return our selection back to what we had before, because when we added children, now we're saying we're targeting the children of the div with the class of result. But now we're done with that, so we're going to say we're done with that. End, now return the selection back to the element with a class of result. And then we will append the div. And finally, we're done here, so I'm going to return this. So if we try it out, I'm going to click these images, and now we're displaying the necessary ones. So think about it. Now that we are displaying the necessary images, we should use the history API. When we're applying this template, we should also attach a new history record. And we'll do that up here. We've applied the template. That's working great. Now we're going to update the history. And I'll pass through the anchor tag again. Let's add that here, update history. And now we already know how to push a new record, so I can simply copy that and paste it in here. But this time, rather than saving some generic string, we are actually going to save a specific object. So we'll create a variable called data_to_save. Now you can also just place an anonymous object within here, but this way it's a little easier to understand, at least for the demo. And we'll say the title. And now the title should be equal to the anchor tag's title attribute, data title. Next, the href. And I want you to remember that these are anything we want it to be. It's just random data that we need in our application. So there's nothing that says I have to have title, I have to have href. It's just what we need here. So the href I want to be data.href. And then finally the URL. And this will be the way we can specify what the URL should display. So why don't we add that within here? And we'll create a new HTML5 custom attribute. And we'll call this one HTML5. This one will be WP. And then finally, this one will be tuts. Now, we can access this value within a custom attribute by doing, with regular JavaScript, you can do it with jQuery in different ways, but with regular JavaScript, you would reference the anchor that was clicked, and then you can use this new data set feature. And that way, we can then refer to any custom HTML5 attributes by the name that comes after data dash. So in this case, we would do data.dataset.url. Or if it's easier to think about it, the anchor tag that was clicked, get its data set, and then get the URL custom attribute. That looks good. So now we're going to push a new record. We're going to save data to save. The title will be equal to data.title. And then finally, the URL to display is once again right here. So we're pushing a new record, and we're also saving some information for us to retrieve in the future. So let's go over this really quick. When the user clicks on an anchor tag, we take our template, we attach some data from the anchor tag that was clicked to it, then we apply that template to the page. Next, we've changed the state, so we're going to update the history. And update history will attach a new state to the browser's history, and we're going to save some information about the anchor tag that was clicked. So in the next lesson, we're going to attach the pop state event so that we can hook into the browser's back and forward button.